Let me start by introducing myself. I'm Heba Kurayim, and I'm the client director for Mina TV, which is an online portal which helps producers and distributors find buyers from around the world and in the region. We've been recently running an initiative of going global with Arabic content, and where we aim to increase global awareness of the beautiful and incredibly unique ideas, talent, and stories portrayed from the Arabic entertainment world. Our topic today is close to the hearts of many of us involved in the MENA community, the Arabic content community, whether it's producers, distributors, broadcasters, or creative talent from this region, of course. We'll be talking about what it takes for Arabic productions to travel, identifying the factors that make Arabic content desirable to the world, and we'll also hear about some success stories related to this. We have some very nice surprises happening on this panel today, and I'm very lucky this morning because I'm with 4 of the most influential and experienced industry figures when it comes to Arabic productions. And the great thing about today is that each and every one of them has a success story to share with us related to the topic. We'll start off by, I'll give a brief introduction about the panelists, and then we have the discussion will take approximately 45 to 50 minutes, and then we'll save 5 to 7 minutes towards the end for your questions. So feel free to jot down any ideas you have, and then we'll address that towards the end. I'll start off by, yes.
Having a problem, I think. We're not hearing you. We're not hearing you.
Oh, they can't hear me. You can't hear me.
Not properly, yeah. There is a reservation kind of thing in the voice.
Can we fix that?
Because there are no loudspeakers this way, it's only that, so we can barely.
Sound people, the panelists cannot hear me properly. There is a vibration. They're not able to hear me.
If the audience is fine, then you can.
Can everybody hear me in the room? Yeah? Yeah? Try.
We're not important, it's okay.
You're not important. No, you are. Okay, I'll start off with the person on my left. A lot of us know Badia Fatouh. He's the CEO of Creative Ventures, a boutique content production and distribution company. Badia has over 25 years experience in the broadcast industry in the MENA region. He held managerial positions in prominent TV networks such as NBC, and he was also CEO of CBC a few years ago. And he played a major role in shaping regional content consumption by identifying big hits such as The Voice, Arab Idol, and of course Al Barnamij Bassem Youssef, which a lot of us here love, as well as many other shows that are big hits. He also co-produced Bab al Hara, one of the most successful and longest running dramas with 9 seasons. It was a staple in many homes in Ramadan, during Ramadan. And of course, Fadi Ismail, also a lot of us know Fadi. He is the general manager of O3 Productions, which is the distribution arm of NBC, production distribution arm. Fadi has also been dealing with Arabic content for over 26 years, and he has strong influence in shaping also the consumption of content in the region, whether it's by successfully bringing in Turkish content or giving Korean content a chance in this part of the world. O3 produced some of the strongest high-quality Arab series, such as Omar, and more recently Black Crow's Gharabib Sood, if you're big fans of watching Ramadan series. And he personally witnessed both success as well as obstacles in going global with Arabic content. Therefore, he's very, very passionate about our topic today, and I'm looking forward to hearing his input. Next to Fadi is Gianluca. Gianluca is the managing director and founder of Front Row Entertainment. And it's an independent film distribution company. And it's a funny story, but before I knew Gianluca, I used to hear his name a lot. And I hear people saying, Gianluca did this, Gianluca did that, and then I dared to ask, who is Gianluca? And then the response was, are you kidding? He's the person that got the first Arabic film ever on Netflix. And so if you're flipping through Netflix and you happen to come across something from this part of the world, you know who's responsible for that. And it's a Lebanese film that's on Netflix. The name is Very Big Shot, Film Ktir Kbir, and it's currently available in over 230 countries. Front Row also is the sole aggregator for iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, and Netflix. And I'm here looking forward to hearing more from John Lugan how he did this. Safa Abu Rizk, and I'm very happy to having another woman in the panel. She is the general director for B-Link Productions. And B-Link, I associate always B-Link with the Ramadan buzz, because if there is one show during Ramadan that everybody loves and everybody remembers, it's probably coming from B-Link. So they're known for the very high-quality premium Arabic dramas, and examples are Grand Hotel, a few years ago, which was a big hit, Beautiful Life, Halawat Dunya, which was a big hit last year as well, and The Sun Never Dies, La Tutfi Shams from last Ramadan. I also know that Safa has some very exciting news that she's going to share with us today. So I'm looking forward to hearing that from Safa. So I'm going to start with the first question, and this question is for Fadi. We have seen Turkish content make a worldwide impression, and Bollywood is now popular everywhere. Even Korean and Japanese content has successfully made its way to us. So this is proof that cultural differences is not an obstacle to any type of content traveling. These countries have successfully identified an image or a niche that is acceptable to the worldwide audience. In your opinion, what unique image or story from our region do you think could be desirable to the world?
Thank you, Hiba. Good morning. I think the question about uniqueness of content, and one is expected to have a secret formula for uniqueness. It is very simple. What is uniqueness about Turkish? What is uniqueness about Korean drama? What is unique about Arab drama, hopefully in the context of reaching the world? I don't think there's anything unique. Just being from that culture is unique, plus good storytelling, plus good production values. So at the end of the day, today, it's different than a few years ago, and part of that is due to technology of distribution, the revolution that's happening in the media outreach, the OTT platforms. Everything is changing fast. This is the time where uniqueness is not a problem, but an advantage. Turkish, what's unique about it? And I had something to do with the internationalization of Turkish drama, I think, so I can talk with a bit of authority on that. It's good-looking characters, nice storytelling, lovely background from Turkey, and it is simply Turkish in character. Characters are Turkish. Background is Turkish. I can say the same, but replace Turkish with Korean. And hopefully soon I can replace Turkish and Korean with Arab drama when it reaches the world, and it is starting. But it is going to be a slow and painful process for producers in the region and for broadcasters to adapt to the requirements of international standard, international formatting, pricing, negotiation. The mentality has to change. And these are difficult times for the mentality and for risk-taking. But that's the only way for me to go to that, to invest in our uniqueness, and more important, to invest in our own ability to storytell, to tell our stories, but in a sophisticated way, and not in the way that drama has existed. 100 TV series per year is produced. I think only few will have the chance to reach out to the world in the present format, in the present mix of production values and themes and stories.
But yeah, so Fadi identified with Turkish and Korean content that, you know, the common theme is good-looking characters, an excellent story, and you know, its ability to adapt internationally. Do you agree with that? Do you agree that you know, these are the factors contributing?
I mean, good morning, everyone. There are reasons, you know, Fadi mentioned many of them regarding the success, for example, of the Turkish drama, the Korean, whether in our part of the world with different levels of success. I cannot claim that the Korean, as per the ratings, were the same success of the Turkish for different reasons. And the Turkish competed mainly in the genre of telenovela. They did not go into procedural, they did not go into other, like, action, court, hospital drama, and so forth. And they took the telenovela, which was mainly coming from Latin America and was being centered around daytime drama, into prime time by elevating the production values and presenting good characters, as Fadi said, and good storytelling. I think you can bring uniqueness by your cultural specificities. I mean, I'd always use this example when the Egyptian writer Najib Mahfouz won the Nobel Award for Literature. He did not win it about stories coming from New York or coming from, Milan or wherever. He wrote stories about, the poor streets of Cairo, coming from the, from the slums, from the favelas of Cairo, and was able to, these novels to be translated in different languages and reach readers, and winning the Nobel Prize Award. So good storytelling is when you are able to cross boundaries, cultural and social, and reach viewers in Nordic countries, which started receiving the Turkish content, for example, a couple of years ago, which you would say, culturally, there are like vast gap between the two in terms of culture and social references. But good storytelling is able to reach when you have good production values and good scripts at hand.
Mm-hmm. So, from your point of view, good storytelling, I keep hearing good storytelling, which I agree with, and like Badia also pointed out rightfully, that it has to be real stories that we're living here. Gianluca, when you sold the first film to an international platform, were these factors, did they come in play when you were closing that deal?
Yeah. Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it does. The thing is about that film, it was pretty unique for the Arab world. It showed you a different sort of subject or a different story than what we're used to. And it was about crime, and it was about crime and basically and corruption and what really happens in a country like Lebanon. Locally, a lot of the press had a lot to say about the film in the sense that it showed or portrayed Lebanon in a bad manner. But the fact is, when you have like your local reporters that say that, it sort of defeats the purpose of talking about new subjects and therefore locally it was criticized, yet in Lebanon it was a success. But that was again appreciated by someone like Netflix, mainly because yes, it got exposed in major film festivals like Toronto, which after Toronto it spawned into other festivals requesting that same film. Again, when it comes to TV over here, seeing a film like this was a bit daring, I believe, whereas someone like Netflix saw it that daring aspect could be marketable, and that's what they did. But I think, again, this is a very small example, but it tells you that there's so much to do, and the future could be bright if, again, subject matters are treated differently. I still believe that, when it comes to free television, you still have to be very careful about what you talk, and it's a cultural thing that you have to respect, but slowly start to change. And I believe at some point, the bigger players are going to have to adapt to international standards, just if they want to compete.
Mm-hmm.
But can I just say something about what he said? If you don't
of course,
mind?
Fadi, go ahead.
Sorry, Safa, if it's your turn, but he's used the word daring. In movies, you can be daring. On television,
Yeah, no, that's what I said.
Everything you said is true, but I want to emphasize it in the sense that in this, we are still a bit far from doing content on TV that is daring, that the Netflixes of the world will take note of. Because our audience is mainly the Ramadan mass audience. Mm-hmm. There is a limit to how much daring you can be in such an environment.
Very, very interesting, because I wanted Safa to touch on your point exactly. Now, Safa, you've heard what Gianluca said, that, the content to travel, one of the aspects that it has is, of course, a good story, and like Badia and Fadi pointed out, it has to be, good-looking characters and high-quality productions, but also Gianluca added daring. And I know that you have very high-quality Ramadan productions. If you want to tell us a little bit more about that and your success story with your international platform.
Can you hear me? Yeah, now you can. Thank you for this invitation, and it's my honor to be with you guys, and of course with Fadi and Badia. They were my masters in MBC. So I came from TV, and 5 years ago we had launched B-Link Productions as a drama production house. I also believe that being unique, there's no secret formula for being unique. If everybody knows this formula, everyone could have done it already. I think the good product should be backed with a good taste from the producers themselves to have the right formula and the right factors together. It's about the mix. It's not only about a good story or a good director or a good cast. It's the secrets of gathering those people together and have the right mix that they can have the harmony and the chemistry between them. What we are doing in B-Link is not focusing on the story only or on the production value only. We focus on having the formula of people working together, the chemistry between them, the passion. All our teams in each single project, they are all passionate about the work. They're not doing it on a commercial level or on a commercial basis. All of them, they're doing the art for the art's sake. And this is where it starts. Once we think or focus on the global expansion, I think before that we should focus on being very much local, which is, I agree with Badia and Fadi on that. This is the main goal of any production or any series, is to achieve the success in its own origin. In the MENA region, we have many countries and different territories between the Gulf, Levant, Egypt, and North Africa. If you manage to have a project that is being seen in all these different countries, you have already succeeded, okay? And later you will be noticed, and other players will come to you. And this is what is actually happening with us. It's the criteria of success is to go beyond. If you have a project in Egypt and it's being acknowledged or seen in Lebanon, this is a success. If we have Halawat al-Dunya last year and the most hype comes from Kuwait, for us, this is satisfactory. It's, we know that we might touch the people in our on the own culture of each series, but if you outreach and reach on the Gulf or the Lebanese or the North Africa, this is a success for you. Once you have reached this, okay, I think you will be noticed globally, and it's still very early. For a region like the Middle East, which was way behind 10 years ago. Once the Turkish drama started, we were, like 11 years ago, we were way behind. All the directors, the good talents, they were only in the movies industry. Now we brought them into the TV on free-to-air, and now we have a good talents working on a regular, family-friendly, not daring, not controversial, a family-friendly content, but with the right formula. So it's, I don't think if we want to go globally, it should be a daring, it should be, you should cross all the borders. You should have the right mix, and you should reach first in your own Arab world, all of it, okay, before you think and
So
reach.
did you manage to achieve that? Did you manage to?
This is the news we were talking about. We had, 2 years ago, we had the example of Grand Hotel series, which was seen and noticed by all Arab countries. Now we have managed to sell it to Netflix, and it's already now being sold globally, and it will be translated. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So it's working. Arabic content is going.
working,
We've got now the first film ever to be on Netflix from Lebanon, and the first drama series to be on Netflix from Egypt, right? So congratulations to B-Link. Very nice success stories. Can you be the bad boy? Fadi wants to.
Thank you. Netflix, we hear a lot about Netflix, and it's the target of every producer to go and knock on their doors, and I've done that, and I'm doing that. In Turkey, we have the first Turkish drama original for Netflix. In the region here, the problem is there is 100 series produced every year. So for the last 5 years, let's say, there's 500 series available for the international market. I'm just throwing numbers. From that number, if there is Grand Hotel, beautiful work that has been sold there, if Omar in 2011 was sold to 2-3 territories, that doesn't make, we didn't reach the breakthrough yet. What I'm trying to say, in other words, is that local success is necessary, but not sufficient. We can be very, very Selfie. Have you heard of Selfie? Selfie is the #1 rated series in the region in ratings. It can't be sold internationally because it's very local, because it's very although it's very successful. So there are requirements. I do believe that our 30-episode series for Ramadan, in general, and generalization always has some injustices, but most, if not all, of our 30 hours drama series should have been 10, but we decided to elongate it and elasticate it. Does that word exist? Yeah. So that they reach 30, because it happens that Ramadan is 30. Okay? That is not a formula in the world that can compete with what is required for the slots of a season in the main market. Now, even Turkish, and I am a producer of Turkish content and I know what I'm saying, even Turkish only takes the slots of telenovelas, the 100 episodes. Arabic series are 30. They have to compete with other slots, the slots that are high production values, daring in subject matter. And we're still far from that, simply because if we go back to the origin of the daring, everybody wants to be HBO, to use another brand. But HBO is a pay channel. You have to pay to get HBO. You don't have to pay to get ABC, CBS, and NBC in the US. The differentiation is HBO wants you to pay, and in return it gives you daring content not available on the networks. Here in the region, there is no paying. You don't have platforms that you pay for and gives you original Arabic content yet. Mm-hmm. It might happen, it should happen, it will happen, but it will take its time.
Let me just add one thing, Fadi. Even if you have a paying network that will be able to commission original Arabic content, there will still be limitations for the time being as we know it on the level of content and how daring you can get and how edgy you can get. And it would compromise to a certain degree this offering in terms, I mean, Showtime in the US, their slogan is see it first, see it all. When Showtime, before the merge with, and became OS, and they tried to do this at least with the American content, and they faced issues from censorship point of view. Whether you are now video on demand, paid TV, free to air, definitely free to air has more exposure and more problems. There will still be limitation to present edgy and daring content to a large degree.
But the creativity will be better. Our writers, when you go to, there are many faces that I recognize from Europe and the US. When you tell anyone that there's one writer who wrote 30 episodes in 3 months, these guys, these writers, some of them are my friends, must have a huge IQ and enormous nuclear energy to do and creativity to write that. You cannot have good storytelling written by one person in 3 months and produced after that in 2-3 months, and then we call it world standard. That is an impossibility. So we are still far from that. What will the pay do is allow for better creativity, because the writer will decide if the story can take 7 episodes, 8, 10, 12, 15. It will be much stronger, much more captivating. That's one road to success.
So you've identified the limitations. From what I can understand in your discussion, the limitations to content that can actually travel is, number one is funding, and number two is creative talent, the availability of creative talent. Is there a third factor that I'm missing? That
first of all, I think that, again, can you go, oh yeah. First of all, I think there is a lack of writing talent over here. It's not just the whole production. I think everything starts when it comes to
a lack of writing talent?
Right, yeah. There's not much, you don't really have like one name that you can say, this guy's really going to deliver like something amazing, like a David E. Kelly, the guy that did, I believe, Sopranos or so on. You don't have that name. There isn't that system over here. So again, as far as, from experience and from what I've seen, the writing happens in, how long does it take to write a whole series? Fadi, you've worked on this. Yeah. So,
not 3 months.
Right, exactly.
3 months.
So you have a lot of like the development, at least outside. It takes years. It's not just like 2-3 months and then you're going to shoot it for what 2-3 months, another 2-3 months, and there you have 30, 40, 50, 60 episodes. I think the lack. It's there. It's all there. Plus, there's also one thing which I believe, and this is part of, it's been ingrained in the culture right now, is that a lot of the writers do auto-censor themselves just because, they have to have their stuff, eventually released on free TV. So I believe that's the greatest and most damaging form of censorship, when you auto-censor yourselves. When you have platforms like Justly, as Fadi said, like an HBO, you don't have that problem. You can go all out. You will have your House of Cards, or your Game of Thrones. Netflix, in that case, they did House of Cards. Amazon did American Gods, and so on. But the thing is that you have the liberty of writing. You have the liberty of writing whatever you want, and then it's up to the producer to say yes or no. So it's that, and I think because of the introduction of these platforms, these international platforms, again, I think all of this is going to change. And the encouraging part of it is you're going to have a lot of new talent that are going to exploit that. And again, it would be like Fadi or Badia or anyone's job to sort of encourage this, And slowly, it's going to take some time, but eventually, this is going to happen. So again, I see it bright. The future is quite bright.
So I want to focus on, yes, Safa.
I don't, like, we have, every year, we have 100 series, and most of them are being written in a very short time, but this is not the, like, everything. The ones that stood out and the ones are good enough to be named as a good project, they were never been written in 3 months. In our work, we have the mix between scripted formats, which we buy scripts because we know that there is a lack of writing talent, and we have the original writings. Once we have a series of from an original writing, it never takes 3 months. We take 2 years each one. Once we deal with Abdurrahim Kamal, who is an excellent writer, he waits 1 year to deliver another series. So he works every 2 years. He delivers 1 series. Once we have a good original writer that has his time. One of the limitations in our productions in the MENA is the time. Time is money, and everyone wants to produce quickly and reduce the pre-production time and the filming time. And of course, this translates into money. If you have the time and you have the money and you have the good writers that write every 2 years one project, this is what will make it a good one. So it's not everyone does write in 3 months or 2 months. It's the majority, and those projects will never see the light and will never be a good example of a global distribution. We need to have the budgets in terms of limitations of like being daring or of the censorship. I think the only solution, because all of us are producing for free to air, and this should be family friendly. The solution for everyone, and that's why everyone is excited about Netflix or any pay platform, because we will have the liberty and the openness in demonstrating any subject. We will have the ability to talk about areas that are kind of taboo. We will not go into erotic direction, but we need to have the ability to talk openly, more openly than the free-to-air. And this is what we're currently trying to do. We are developing many projects with those pay platforms and with bigger association to be able to tell stories in a different way. Maybe it needs a year or 2 years for these projects to see the light, and that will be another discussion. Maybe we will have to be here.
Despite the limitations that you've just mentioned, despite the funding, despite the lack of time, we have to fit as much as possible before Ramadan. The limitations on creative.
The problem is that everybody wants to release during Ramadan. This is a major problem. Like, there's no main shows or big shows that are outside of that month. So you have like 100 shows that are being produced per year. Most of them, or if not all, how many Fadi Badia, how many of these are aired during Ramadan?
70 of 30.
Right, so 70-80% of the product is mainly tailored for Ramadan.
70 or 80%.
Yeah, which is insane. Like throughout the year, you don't have anything. So I believe there is time to write. But it's just that the model has to change, the whole mentality of producing shows for,
Actually, the ratio is 50-50, but the ratio is already, there are many projects outside Ramadan, but outside Ramadan is 10 months, 9 months, Ramadan is 1 month. Okay, that's why you don't see something prominent.
But Dia has a point about the revenues.
Whereas the advertising revenue,
yes, sure,
in terms of channel, in Ramadan doesn't constitute more than 35% in many of the major territories. So, whereas there is 65% of your revenue coming outside Ramadan, mainly it's going for non-scripted shows, pillar shows, outside Ramadan. It should go more into also the scripted part and having more
original content.
Exactly.
Original content is outside of Ramadan. It's scarce. It's not, and that's, I believe it's a problem. Again, it's because, throughout all of these years, people, and I believe also TV stations, have been used to that. And now things are changing. You have just someone like, Amazon that are going to be spending about No more.
Netflix 8.
Right,
Amazon
okay.
4.
So Netflix,
okay.
Netflix 8 billion, Amazon 4, but then you have someone like App 8 billion in original content, you know, and then you have someone like Apple that have already committed to $2 billion, and then again you have someone like Facebook. So you have all these platforms that are coming in.
Do you think we're going to see the Middle East, North Africa?
No, from them. Days.
I can hear you. Yeah.
No, but, no, I don't think.
I lost. Okay, sorry.
You didn't. Yeah.
So you're saying it's not working. It's not working.
It is.
It's not working again.
It's not working again.
Raise your voice.
You said 8 billion is coming
Don't move. Don't just.
There's something with the voice. Okay. 8 billion is coming from Netflix. 2 billion is coming from Apple. Do you think the Middle East, North Africa? Oh, thank you. I think it's fine now. Do you think the MENA region is going to see any of that?
Eventually, yeah. Eventually, yeah. I mean, it's bound. The thing is that they with local content that translates to subscriptions.
Right.
Already obviously nobody would disclose the numbers of subscribers to it's not made public. But if they want to have more subscriptions from the region, they're going to have to start doing not only general Middle Eastern and mainly Egyptian shows, but they're going to have to go even more local. So you're going to have UAE shows, you're going to have Kuwaiti shows, you're going to have Saudi shows and so on.
On
yeah.
OTT platforms. And I think Fadi is not agreeing with this.
I'm pessimistic about today. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm pessimistic about today, optimistic about tomorrow. Optimistic that competition will create the dynamism. And when we're talking about Netflix and Amazon, and they are coming to the region, and they might spend each one $5 million. Forget about the 4 or the 8 billion.
Yeah.
The 5 million each. There is, I think, 400 global OTT in the world now. Maybe few of them are working in the Middle East, and none with local content. And if somebody wants it, they will experiment with one. So there is a snowball that will happen slowly but surely. And let's say just 10. Let's do some mathematics in the morning. 10 global players come and invest each one $5 million. That's a game changer. That will create also competition with the local content. I mean, a lot of big players in the region, even telcos, and even obviously NBC has Shahid Plus, and Shahid, which is the biggest VOD platform in the region. Everybody will have to compete, and everybody will put premium content. And the premium content that we'll put will be not 30, but 10, 15. The storytelling will be good. The production value will also be better. And therefore, we will have that kind of elevation of quality of storytelling, quality of content that we all dream about. We're not there yet, so let's not dream that we are there. We're in the beginning. I cannot predict, and nobody can predict. If somebody can in the audience have a secret formula to predict how many years this will take, but there is a crisis right now, and nobody wants to take risks in content. Viewing habits are what they are. To change them will take time, will take investment. Investment is risky at this moment, so it's going to be a slow process, hopefully energized by the outside international players, hopefully.
So, Badia, I know that you have input in regards to what Fadi just said about it being a very slow process, but we've already seen the success stories happening, so it's baby steps maybe towards something big that's taking place. And with the current changes in consumption of the content, and it calls for a change in approach, of course, in the way the content is bought and sold. So, what do you think this is going? Where do you think this is going? Do you agree that it's going to be a snowball effect that's going to happen all of a sudden, or do you think it's going to take maybe five years for changes to happen?
I think
we'll
it is
out.
based on many factors. It is based on many factors. in terms of changing viewing habits. One of them is the fact that many Arab countries have a young population on one hand. And this would impact the profile of the viewer and the habits of the teenagers, for example, now who are playing video games and so forth, and using more, the digital platform, and their watching habits are based on video on demand rather than on linear TV that is dictated by certain times. Is it going to replace it overnight, or there would be a sudden switch? I don't think so. I think the name of the game would be coexistence for a period of time between the platforms like free-to-air, video on demand, pay TV. Each would cater for a different profile of viewers, and taking into consideration the economic factors that, if you have something to watch for free and you cannot afford, or it's a financial burden to afford, the subscription, whether the VOD, the SVOD, or the pay TV, this would come into play as well. I think the competition will be, the entrance of these international platforms to the region would create hopefully a demand. And hopefully it will drive the competition between the producers to elevate the standards of production. But I think what's missing, speaking earlier by the colleagues about the limitation and the problems of the production, I think what's the main thing is this partnership that we miss between the broadcasters and the platform and the production companies in developing content. It's not only like time frame per se, like 3 months or 6 months. Definitely, like Safa said, there are writers who take a year to develop it. And like Fadi said, there are people who are forced to deliver a 30 episode like in 3 months because you have to go into shooting because Ramadan is coming, and everybody has to run in that direction. I attend a lot of international events, and when you speak about, when you hear about a producer or a showrunner working with a broadcaster for 7-8 months, only developing the character profile of the hero and the storyline, and reflecting on whose voice it is expressing, and are they coming with something new vis-a-vis the competition or not? Definitely, we don't have this luxury yet in our workflow and our production cycle. You don't have this partnership between the broadcasters and the producer working 7-8 months, investing time, effort, and money to develop something that could be new and unique and so forth. This cycle, I think it's affecting most, the outcome or part of the limitation.
And lack of feedback as well. You mentioned before lack of feedback from the viewers.
Feedback in terms of.
Not knowing, I remember you once in a conversation that we were having, not knowing the feedback of the viewers in terms of ratings.
This is the issue, this is the issue of the people meter. When you have, for example, a daily feedback and a prompt one, credible one, for how many millions of viewers have watched or not watched your content, this would have an impact. I mean, there are many series in the US that ends 8 episodes, for example. And the first thing they taught us, when you see a series with 8 episodes, don't buy it. This means it was stopped mid-season, it didn't do well, it flopped. Or when, the Turkish, we're talking about the success of Turkish drama, I think Fadi and Safa can tell us how many Turkish drama are axed every year after only a few episodes. This dynamics of feeling that if you don't sustain the rating, you will be axed out of the prime time. It will create a different dynamics in producing, in writing, in being really sharp, and so forth. But when you produce 30 episodes and then you put it on air, all of us, by the time you know the feedback, it's finished. It's done.
Yeah.
So internationally, the way it's done is you air the first few episodes while production is still running. So in this part of the world, they do it all in one shot, and then it either flops or it succeeds.
Exactly.
We're talking a lot. Can you hear me? We're talking a lot about the ready-made, the ones that we've produced, and we want the world to see it. We're doing something else, and I see Vijaya wants me to. I will end, at least me, on a positive note. I will say that we are now developing or co-developing content from the region, characters, events, stories, IP, books, novels, bestsellers from the region. And we're doing that with international players like anonymous content in the US, like Propagate in the US. I just want to mention, who saw Gomorrah, the Italian drama? It is in Italian, which is not spoken in the world except in Italy, if I'm... so it is a local production, but it is so good. The Killing, The Bridge from Denmark. How many people in the world speak Danish? We can do the same if we develop in the right way. And we can do it with others who see a value in our storytelling. And we're doing it because I can say we are about to pitch and hopefully get response. Next meeting we will have, next event, I will also be announcing, like Safa, about international co-production with Arab content. And there is another deal that has been done, but I cannot talk about it. I'm sorry, but I have to tease you. So I'm optimistic for the future.
I'm looking forward to that, Fadi. Vijaya, how much time do we have?
You can have 5 minutes to ask questions.
Well, I have one just question. Before I open the floor for questions, just one more question. I was keeping the best for last. So just one country, one word. If one title was to go viral internationally, Game of Thrones style, or say James Bond style, if it was film, which country in MENA would it most likely come from? Just one country. Okay, sorry. If one title was to go viral internationally, a local, something from MENA, regional. Game of Thrones style, or in film it would be James Bond, for example. If it was to go viral from the region, from which country would it come from? Just one country, not. We'll start with Safa. Just one country.
I would say Egypt, because the industry is there, talents are there, and budgets are there. Like Gulf or Lebanon, okay, they have very limited budgets.
Okay.
They cannot compete on
So you're
that
saying
front.
Egypt?
So Egypt, yes.
Egypt. Gianluca?
It all depends on the business model. It could be from anywhere, honestly. It
could
really
be from
depends on the
anywhere.
business model. As Safa said,
If you had to choose one country.
Where you will find
talents.
the talents.
Writing, for example, is from Lebanon. They're freer.
Okay. So you're thinking
100%.
Lebanon. Fadi?
It could be Djibouti, Mauritania, or Somal. All these are Arab
Regional.
countries.
Regional.
As long as there is a talent with an idea and the connection.
Give her one.
So which country in the region? If you had to pick one country, at the end of the day,
Egypt, but not necessarily.
Egypt, but not. So we've got two Egypt, one Lebanon, but yeah, Egypt.
For the same reasons that Safa said, the industry is developed enough to be able to deliver
It's
at least
mature. It's
more
more
mature.
Mature,
enough to be
okay.
able to-
Can we take a raise of hands? Who thinks Egypt is the next country to produce the next viral content
There are some
internationally?
hands over there.
So only 4 or 5,
No, from
not too
Lebanon,
many.
the problem is also with
Who thinks
directors.
Lebanon?
Again, it's the whole region.
Oh, okay. Okay, now just, I ran a quick Google search. UAE?
UAE.
Maybe. We'll see. I ran a quick Google search yesterday. If we take international awards as a measure of success of Arabic content going internationally, I was very surprised that, let's say, the Oscar Awards or Emmy Awards, 34 entries were from Egypt when the Oscars started, 34 submissions. Made it to the nominations, 0. 1-0. From Lebanon, 14 for Oscars, 14 submissions.
But that's because of the production.
Nominations, 14 submissions, nominations from Lebanon, 0. There was one Oscar won by a country from the MENA region. And
Morocco? Morocco?
Algeria.
Algeria.
And Palestine and Jordan submitted, how much?
They had Thebe. That was nominated for an Oscar.
Well,
Yeah.
an Oscar was won for Algeria, and for an Emmy Award for Arab telemedia groups. drama production in 2018, اجتياح. So there are some very good success stories, but it was striking to me to find out that it's not Egypt or Lebanon, even though Egypt did have the most submissions, but 0 nominations. So
yeah, but each of one has the reasons behind it. Like اجتياح was very much political concept, okay, and it's a controversial, and that's why it was nominated for the Emmys.
You said, coming back to the point, daring, like Jessica said, it's a daring concept, and it's very, like you said also, and Badia and Fadi also confirmed that success stories coming out of here are daring, are very, very local. They tell a local story, what people are living in the Middle East. So I'm going to ask the question again. If there was knowing those facts, if there was a piece of content coming out of the Middle East that would make its way internationally, going viral internationally, which country would it come from? Okay. Do you think?
Again?
Still, well, I just gave you the facts.
It depends on the talent.
If you think about Clash, I guess that's the
Clash, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That film premiered in Cannes, and again, it was like the subject matter of it that was pretty cool, and the way it was shot, it was pretty cool. We distributed
from
that
which country is it?
Sorry?
Clash from which?
From where?
Clash is Egyptian.
Oh yes.
Yeah. And that film made it to Cannes, and it had like a lot of publicity. Again, the ones that travel, though, again, is all about the subject matter. If you have your usual formulaic subject, that'll never travel. But look at, for example, people like Nadine Labaki, for example. She gets, Sony has bought her film internationally. It was released in pretty much, the US. You have someone like Ziad Dwairi that was at Venice or Arab Idol. These are all subject matters that can travel. Like locally, again, other than in Egypt or even in Lebanon, like these would work, but then again, they won't travel throughout the rest of the Middle East, which is a problem. But again, I believe all of this is indeed changing, and again,
yes.
it's all about the subject.
You've identified that OTT platforms coming in place. Everything's changing now. There's a lot of opportunities. You've mentioned some really big numbers, and like Fadi also said, the production quality is really going up. And we're not going, nothing is going down. So it's all looking very positive. Do we have 5 minutes for questions?
No more. You took those 5 minutes.
Come on, 5 minutes.
But we can take another 2 questions. Just 2 questions from the panel and from the audience. Any questions for our lovely team out here?
Nick has a question.
Nick saves the world.
Fadi mentioned 10 entities funding $5 million apiece. Can you give us a few ideas as a panel who those entities should be? Obviously, we know about Netflix, but who else do you want to see putting some money in? Internationals.
Anybody who wants to expand globally is an option. I mean, you name it, you know them better. Other than Amazon, HBO, their online service wants to expand. Yeah. Europeans, they are very heavy in trying to counter the Netflix threat and do their own services. The Googles and the Facebooks and thank you, iFlex from Malaysia coming here and investing. And that would also make the local players invest in premium content. So it will be a dynamic, competitive landscape that will be built slowly but surely. Or that's my wishful thinking, maybe.
And the cable as well. Cable operators, Etisalat, OSN, they are also competing on the original content.
But
so
it has to have a local success, I think Safal said.
Yeah.
Those comers will complement but not replace local funding. As small as it is compared to the potential international, you have to have a local success and you have to have local platforms. Because
regionally, it's not small. If they want to have a regional reach, definitely the reach is by far mostly Arabic audience watching original Arabic content. Yes. It remains a really very niche for the ones capitalizing only on Western content when coming into regional markets, especially, which is the case, like, and what comes into play, like level of literacy, interest, relevance of topic, and so forth.
Hi there. I'm Tracy from Viacom International Media Networks. Hello, if you can see me. Okay, we're a little bit the opposite of what you've been talking about today. So I would say we're an international brand that's producing locally. We are daring. We are on a pay TV network. And I understand the limitations we all have with producing content. We have produced the first stand-up comedy in the region that goes out on the OSN network. And I consider that our storytelling, although it's personal stories of our comedians, we are trying. What I'd like to know is, we've all been in the industry quite a long time, and we all talk about the limitations or the barriers of entry. What I'm wondering is, it's inevitable that Netflix or Amazon will invest even a small portion of their budgets in the local region where there is huge storytelling abilities and has not been exposed yet. But what steps are you doing? Fadi, is O3 producing for Shahid exclusively? What I want to know is, whose decision will it be? Is it a chicken or egg? Are we waiting for Netflix and Amazon to come and produce before we do? Or are we looking more at collaboration with them so that we can kind of ride the wave with them? Is it ad sales decision? Is it your decision? Or what do you think will be the tipping point?
I think first we have... Can you hear me?
I can.
There's a crisis in the region. Advertising market is down by, I don't know, 20, 30, 40%. So there is a crisis. And therefore, this is a wonderful time for collaboration. This is a wonderful time for co-production. This is a wonderful time for doing things that were not possible before due to commercial reasons or ego or whatever it was. So whose decision? I don't know, but we are collaborating with Imagination. We are collaborating with Anonymous. We're collaborating with Propagate. We are talking to Netflix. But for Shahid, we have content. Now it's still a catch-up service. I hope soon there will be investment to do premium content. And because even when Netflix comes, it will come with one series. And Amazon, it will come with one series in the first year, maybe two in the second year. So this is a long process to have premium content on those platforms. In the meantime, it is the local platforms, such as Shahid and Shahid Plus, which will, and I'm optimistic and I'm almost sure that this will happen very soon, will have to invest in local premium content when we have the content that is right. We cannot put the 30-episode content on a platform like Shahid or like whatever. To make the point, we are now developing a Saudi series, 15 episodes, that is unique. It is based on the bestseller novel. It has a genre that is... It's a love story. We have to have love in everything, but a love story between two with a different storytelling that we hope will be a big thing. Like everybody believes his content is big. Will this live on a platform, an online platform? Let's wait and see. But we need to experiment, and we need to invest, and we need to take some calculated risk, even if the conditions now are against taking risks because of that.
Can I also add? We've done this. We've as Front Row, we have produced a series directly with iFlix, for example. This is an SVOD platform that launched less than a year ago. We've done that. It was an Egyptian TV show. The second season has just started. So that is available directly on an SVOD platform. So from our experience, it all really depends on the business model that you have. You can't start big and expect these platforms to invest in you and so on. So again, in my opinion, it all depends on the business model to start with. And then, like Fadi said, it's about collaboration and seeing, if you could come up with co-productions and eventually find a business model where every window could be respected. And throughout the world, like Fadi said, you have like a Gomorra that was a massive success, which Sky co-produced. But now there's another TV show which also Netflix has called Subura, which again premiered in Italy alone on free TV, and then on the last episode Netflix will have it. But internationally we already have that, but in Italy it's not available. Up until it finishes its run. So that's another model that could come up.
Yeah, well, Gianluca, you're known for the first, so we're going to end on that note because I think we're running over time. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your input. Thank you.